So who makes it a habit after every conversation you have with a buyer and or seller to document that conversation via email and say, per our conversation, I just want to do a recap of what we discussed. Okay, I got one hand. I got two hands. I got three hands. If not, that should be a habit you should get into. Let me give you an example. Recent, he said, she said. Two of them in the last week. First one was new development, developer contract. The deposit exceeded 3%. When the buyer was signing the documents to purchase this unit that won't be built until next year, they have the developer clause in there that it is liquidated damages, but if the developer, in a nutshell, says the developer can prove that it was more injurious to the developer, they can keep it all. Is basically what it kind of said. The buyer asked the developer at the time of signing the contract, so I just want to make sure that if I cancel, I'm only being charged 3%, to which the developer representative said yes. That should have been followed with an email followed up saying, per our conversation, I just wanted to verify what took place at the meeting and my buyer requesting that the liquidated damages not exceed 3%, and you said yes. That didn't happen, and so that makes the case harder if we need to go to mediation on that. But since we would have had it documented in an email, it would have been better. Because at least that makes your case stronger. Anything to make your case stronger if you're in front of a mediator or a judge is better. Second case, listing, new home, VA buyer, seller was unaware that the VA requirement was there were seller repairs needed on the property. Seller then screams when they get their net sheet. You never told me that I have to make repairs. When presenting the offer, good thing to do would be to explain what the VA process is and there's sellers repairs that need to be made on the property that the buyer can't pay for, and then follow that up with an email so that sellers are aware completely. Those are just some examples of why you need to follow up with an email that says, per our conversation. It will save your ass every time, and it will allow me to sleep a lot better at night. Okay? And none of these agents did anything wrong. It becomes a he said, she said. And so how do you prove what he said? You document and follow up. Okay? Know your limitations. Who's really good at getting legal advice in the room? Because y'all do it, right? Well, I think you might be able to take this to mediation. I don't know. Let me see. Let me ask my broker. No. You're not a lawyer. Are you guys plumbers? Are you foundation experts? Are you roofing experts? Do you always want to give advice about how to repair something? Who's guilty besides me? Please raise your hands. Right? Know your limitations. You are a real estate agent to guide the client through the process. And when it comes to something that you don't have knowledge of or are licensed to do, you just simply say, that's a great question. Let me show you where you need to find this information. It would be unethical and illegal for me to actually give you the answer. Okay? Do not misrepresent.
Here's a question.
Yes.
So say the agent has a DNA or an SNA with either buyer or seller. So that agent can't really advise the client.
Nope.
What should I do when they keep asking me questions and I say I can't advise them?
Exactly that.
Yeah.
My agent represents the buyer and or seller, which means we cannot dispense real estate advice to you. Should you want legal advice about purchasing a property or the questions you ask, here's the number to the San Diego County Bar Association Referral Service. Huh? Well, it's in the, surprisingly, it's in the back of this handout. I wrote it down for you. So, also do not represent any brokers in the room. You're held to a much more standard of liability because you are a broker, right? So if you're ever hauled into court, it's you first and then me second. Because as a broker, they will say, well, you're a broker, you should have known that. That's why we advise against getting your broker's license. Let me have all the risk. And some of you are quite okay with that. Okay? Use care in recommending inspectors. Number 4. Who always provides their buyers with a list of 3 different home inspectors and says, I really want you to call this one? Nobody's afraid to say that? Stop it. What you should be doing is referring them to the CREA website and saying, here's where you can find a list of home inspectors in your area that would work well and help you. And that's directly from Jackie. If you give them an inspector and the inspector does a bad job, what happens? They come back to you later and say, well, you told me to use this inspector. You told me to use this home warranty company.
Well, that could be for any resource that you
Exactly.
provide.
Exactly.
So you're not supposed to have any resources that you bring to the table?
How you present it is you have a list of people that you provide and say, here's some people that I've used in the past, but I also want you to also investigate on the CREA website if it's a home inspector.
Okay.
Give them other resources to go look at so that they know that you're not saying, Mark, I want you to call this person for the home inspection. You can't call anybody else. That's really what we're trying to mitigate here. Watch your fiduciary duty. So I signed a lot of commission disbursements lately that, and I like this. I like the fact that you guys have a listing here in-house and you might have an agent here on the other side. But what is a fiduciary duty if you're representing the seller? To do what? To expose the property to as a wide audience as possible. Now I know that doesn't always happen because you might have a new listing and you might have it put on the MLS one day and you got an accepted offer from somebody within the office and you don't have signed non-accepted offers uploaded. I like the fact that you guys are all sharing business together. However, is it in your seller's best interest to only open up that property to just people within our office? No, you need to have some market time. So it should be seasoned on the MLS at least 3 to 5 days and say sellers will review all, if it's a hot property, seller to review offers on such and such date. So that it looks like, gives the impression that you have marketed it to the widest audience possible. I get really scared when I see a commission disbursement come across and I know that that listing went live on Friday and it went into escrow on Saturday with an agent in our office. You guys are all looking at me. It's just what it appears to be. Because where's the liability down the road after it closes escrow? Huh? Right, well, what could the seller say?
You didn't close it.
Yeah, close escrow on a property, it closes escrow, neighbor comes over to the seller, finds out that they sold their property. Oh, I heard you sold your home. Yeah, we had a great buyer. You know, they paid $620 for it. Really? I would have paid you $690 if I didn't know that you were selling it. I didn't know you sold it or even had it for sale because I didn't see it signed. And then all of a sudden the can of worms got open and you're eating worm soup. Okay? So my plea to you is if you're representing a seller and or buyer, watch your fiduciary. If you don't know what that word is, let me know. Number 6, observe and document. This goes back to email trails. There's a great thing within Gmail called Folio that you can track all the emails into one lump and it'll categorize it. So every communication you have going back and forth, you just put in the signature, the address, and it automatically dumps it in there. so you don't have to go search for it. But make sure in all your emails you reference the address in the subject line. Okay? Keep risk management practices, number 7. In other words, come to this meeting once a month. Your broker loves you and wants to see you and wants to make sure that you're highly educated and the best agents in the industry, which you all are. Every agent in this room is more educated than the 99% out there, I can guarantee that. We have standards in place that you guys follow, and you guys are the best agents in the business. I truly believe that. And I'm not blowing smoke. Avoid multiple contracts. Someone asked me this yesterday. You know, I get it. You're all writing multiple offers to get a buyer into escrow, and you're blanketing the town just to hope they get something accepted. What would be advisable if you're representing a buyer is to let the listing agent know that buyer is making multiple offers on properties, and the contract will not be ratified until signed and countersigned by both people, so that you don't end up with 2 escrows, because you are committing fraud by opening up 2 escrows.
You're gonna create a bad reputation for yourself as
You
well.
certainly will. Yes, you will, Lisa. Because then you could call the other agent, oh, we don't want it. We got another place.
No, where would you add that in? Put that in then?
I would do a verbal communication.
Okay.
You could put it into the contract if you have you have multiple offers out
What about
under other terms.
What about having the offer expire like within a certain number of hours, and as soon as it expires, you submit your next offer?
You could do that.
Because you can reinvigorate the offer still, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just be upfront with the listing agents. They want to know. The last thing they want to do is get into contract with you and then you bail with your buyer because they got another place. Beware for sell by owners. Anybody here prospect for sell by owners? Okay, just one. Okay. Great way to make money, by the way. I don't know why you guys are afraid of them. But be careful not to cross agency with them by giving them advice. Be careful what you ask them and tell them, okay? Do not act as a lawyer. We discovered that. You guys are not attorneys. Unless you went to law school, Mr. Garrity, then you are held to a much higher standard. Right?
Yeah.
Just when you ask, I know nothing. I don't know anything. Matter of fact, I was the lowest in my class at law school. I think it was a mail order law school. Matter of fact, the law school I went to doesn't even exist anymore. That's what I'd be saying. What's 1,000 lawyers at the bottom of the ocean? A good start. Same as real estate agents. Number 11, stick to what you know. Again, you're a master of what? Real estate, helping people buy and sell homes and navigating the transaction. Okay? Number 12, this is my favorite thing. I was trained when I first got in the business to read the title report and then initial it and sign it, read and understood. Who makes that a habit? Okay, great. So your homework tonight is to get a title report and read through it. And if you don't understand it, ask the title person to sit down and go through it with you. I know it's good bedside reading. If you can't get to sleep, who's had restless nights over this industry? Right? Put a title report right next to your bed. You can't sleep at night, turn on the light, open up that title report and start reading, you'll be asleep in 5 minutes. Guarantee it. And if it's not the title report, read the RPA. Please, read it. Know what's in it. Who can tell me what item K is in the RPA?
Said read it or memorize?
Please, somebody tell me they know what the item K is.
What paragraph?
Oh, you all need to come to contracts class next week. It's about buyer stated financing. Okay? Meaning that if you put an offer in with an FHA or all cash, you can't change it to an FHA or VA or conventional afterwards. Okay? Use standard forms and procedures. The forms we talked about as opening documents. These are broker requirements that we put in place to do what? Keep you out of court and protect you. So follow the system. And then disclose agency relationship when? At the very first meeting. Why do you want to do that at the very first meeting? Because they get used to signing stuff. And then when you put that VRE in front of them or their RLA, they're already in the habit of signing stuff. And then finding, number 15. Act on a claim immediately. I appreciate you guys calling me as soon as you have an issue. And we had a lot of issues this week. Which is why I'm a little more vigilant. Because after last week with one mediation and then 5 other things this week, I'm really tired. Really tired. But it's all because I want to make sure you guys are protected. And you guys work hard for your commissions. I want you to be able to keep them. We are fighting tooth and nail every day for your commissions to make sure you keep them. And we don't want a buyer or seller coming back and doing a clawback. Okay? Finally, if there ever is a legal issue that you know nothing about, this is the verbiage, the very last page. We urge you to consult with your own independent legal counsel because this situation involves legal implications. Keller Williams and I do not give legal advice, and the number to the San Diego County Bar Lawyers Referral Service is, that should be the patented email whenever we get into a legal issue that the client is coming to me about. Okay? And no, you don't give them 3 attorneys from your pool. You let them choose the attorneys. Okay? Questions? Brian?
So on the buyer-stated financing, I think that a lot of people don't get, there's a reason to fill in the rates.
Mm-hmm.
You can use that as a contingent, I mean, we should use that as a contingent protection,
Yeah.
worst case scenario. But there was one case that was being mediated, they were trying to keep the people's deposit, and they didn't have written in 3 1/4 for the rate, and it was like, not happening.
Yeah.
So many agents made that blank, and such a staff, such a good protection.
A buyer was complaining to me yesterday that she thought that she was getting a rate of 4.5 and then she's ending up at 5.0. And that made her payment $200 more a month. And like, what can I do?